Yes, sir. We are back with another episode, and I'm super excited about the topic today. So, this is corporate counterculture. I am your host, Bryan Taylor, and I have the awesome, great Miss.
Brian Mars. That's quite the introduction. I don't know about that one.
No, no,
I
no.
don't know.
I'm giving you big shoes to fill because
Yeah.
we came up with today's topic. So, I'm super excited to talk about this topic because I am passionate about this topic, and I don't even know how I didn't think about it, but that's how great Bryan is. So today we are talking about something that every salesperson likes to talk about and likes to
Likes to shit
complain,
on.
to shit on, to explore, to talk about. It's the ongoing conversation, the ongoing debate forever. And so if you can imagine what you think we're talking about, today we are talking about prospecting and pipeline generation struggles. Oh yeah, yes. We are talking about the thing that helps you either make money or not make money as a salesperson. It's pretty much the most important branch on the tree of being a salesperson. So, I want to just start off with what I think prospecting is, right? So, as we know it, prospecting, you're dialing for dollars, right? You research, you find people, you find contacts, and you call them, email them, pop up at their door until someone answers. And then hopefully, if they're gracious enough, they'll listen to you. And then hopefully, if they're gracious enough, you'll have a discovery call. And if they're gracious enough, they'll send you some data or you'll be able to go to the next steps. That has been the process of prospecting forever. And it's a terrible process.
It sucks. It's the
It's
worst.
a sucky process. So I hate it, but it's a necessary evil. And it's crazy because now it's a part of this dysfunctional relationship, right? Like we all do it as much, even though we hate it, but we've hated it so long that we kind of like it now.
I
What do
don't
you
know if I'll
think?
like it now. I mean, you get used to it. It's like anything else, right? It's like any sort of like inflicted pain. At one point, it's no longer painful.
Yeah,
If you're really open minded, then you can learn to trust the process and love the process. But I don't think that you can take 10 people off the street and if they're in sales, like if you get 10 salespeople and ask them if they enjoy prospecting, I probably bet like 70% of them would say no. You know what I mean? Like there might be that 3% that's kind of weird about it, but like everybody in sales specifically, like if you've really been in it, you enjoy the close. You enjoy that signature. You enjoy your name getting on the scoreboard. You enjoy the dollar on the commission check. You enjoy all of that. But the actual beginning, top of funnel, that part is probably the worst. Flip side of that is it's actually the most important, right? Because at one point, if you just close, then top of funnel dries up and there's nothing to funnel its way back down and actually, actually produce results. So it is a very much necessary evil. But I think that the reason why some people like you might get excited is really just the understanding the overlap and the relationship between where prospecting and marketing comes into play. Because again, age old battle, not only do salespeople hate prospecting, salespeople and in marketing never see eye to eye, right? Like marketing develops some level of idea that they think is great. They tell salespeople to use that tool that could be a hit or a miss, and
mm-hmm.
then salespeople are expected to make magic happen.
Yeah,
And then salespeople turn around, and if it doesn't work, they point at marketing. Marketing tells salespeople that they didn't do it correctly, and they didn't sell it well, and they're not good at their job. So all of that, there's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of back and forth involved. I think that it's a big topic, but with you and your marketing brain, I'll let you get into kind of where the marketing fits in.
yeah. So, man, so here's my thought on prospecting, right? Prospecting initially starts with the ICP, right? And the I what's the I'm short for it right now. I'm short for the word,
An
but
initial contact point.
no. The ideal customer profile,
But yeah, okay.
right? And so you're essentially identifying somebody that you think is a good fit for this product. That falls under marketing. Like that whole concept of who can we market this to falls under marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I always like if the debate is the chicken or the egg, it's like Well, yeah, the egg. The egg comes first. The marketing comes first to me. And that's where it gets tricky with prospecting because prospecting, you're technically identifying a customer and a contact. True. But in order to do that, you have to really create some awareness. And so a salesperson can, I mean, I can do that. I can identify the customer, right? I can identify a customer that I think is a good fit and find their contact and reach out to them. But isn't that also what isn't that what marketing is doing? They're identifying a customer, finding their contact, whether it's email, phone call, or spaces that they think they're going to be, LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever, and then they're reaching out to them. And so for me, marketing is like this is the front door. Like marketing is the front door. It's mental connection, and then salespeople are the human connection. You know what I mean? And if you ever talk to I don't want. How do I put this lightly? Outside of salespeople, there's no real bedside manner, right?
Right.
So salespeople are the ones who are supposed to. Hey, when we find that these are good leads, warm leads, and even if they're not warm leads, we do our own due diligence and prospecting our own. But the way it should work is there's some warm leads or people who are qualified, and then salespeople add that human connection, translate it into a language that the prospect has a better understanding of. And that's how we win the business, in my eyes. But right now, I feel like it's salespeople are the marketing people and then the salesperson. And then sometimes they're also the post-sales engineer, customer service, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I think that you touched on something really, really interesting, though. And I feel like it doesn't really matter what industry you're in, because like I came from industrial sales, and so it was very, very much like the sales guy was the one that needed to be knowledgeable. They needed to be able to answer the questions. They needed to be able to essentially go through the initial design. They needed to understand a lot of like the technical aspects of it. And then now I'm in a role, you and I are in a role where we don't necessarily, we have a team to rely on for that. But at the same time, you do want to be quick on your feet. You want to be ready to have certain conversations. You want to be ready to discuss certain topics without necessarily having to defer to a later date or having to defer to tie somebody else in. And so what ends up happening is in many industries, the salesperson ends up wearing a lot of hats, right? Like you're a regional sales manager for a company and you got to figure out, like we mentioned this before on a different episode, right? Like your territory is your business. You're now the CEO of that area. You got to figure it out, right? And so you do end up fitting the marketing hat on. Like you end up putting on that marketing hat because now you have to post on LinkedIn. Now you have to do outreach. Now you have to send, generic emails, and you have to figure out, well, hey, what's the best trade show and event that's going on around me, and how do I get off on the right foot with a lot of people? Sometimes you might even go into building your own deck, but then taking that deck and now you're creating a flyer, right? Like a single one pager with all the key information that you think might pertain to this trade show, for example. But then also, like you're saying, right, you can move on from the sales process. Like once it closes, now you're trying to help the design team design the solution, or maybe you're trying to help the engineers tweak certain things here and there because of something else that you might have seen that the engineers didn't see. And so there's a lot of different tasks that end up falling in your lap, but that's just because as a salesperson, you got to make it work.
Yeah.
So to me, in general, prospecting is a necessary evil. I would just love it if marketing, stepped up like and made it easy for us. Because at the end of the day, right, like marketing says, okay, here you go, run with this. And it's a video that might be cheesy. It's, a flyer that doesn't contain certain information that your target customer is going to ask about. Maybe it's a flyer, or maybe it's, I don't know, a lack of materials at a trade show, right? And so, but what happens when you're stuck in that situation? Like you got to figure it out. Like I've been at a trade show and I've run to Target to buy a TV and buy this and buy an extension cord and this. And then like I've also prepped for a trade show with creating my own flyers and things like that. So like all of those things, man, end up falling in your lap because that prospecting is so important, and it all comes back to pipeline generation, right? So like at the end of the day, you just got to hustle and figure it out.
I agree. And this is somebody, and to be honest, I love being the Swiss Army knife and knowing all the information and being a part of everything. But if we're talking specifically about prospecting, because it is so important, there's two angles I think. So I think the wheel is broken on both sides. I think the way sales leadership wants salespeople to approach marketing is messed up. But I also think that, no, I'm sorry. I think the way that sales leadership wants salespeople to approach sales, that wheel is broken. But then I also think that the way marketing wants salespeople to approach sales is broken. And those two at the top, I think, create the messy garden that we live in, right? Because there's four words that have lived since the existence of marketing, right? Four words in a sentence, the most powerful sentence that every salesperson says, and it is, these leads are trash. We've all said
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
we've all said it. These leads are trash.
Yep.
We've told our bosses, we've told the marketing people, and nothing really comes of that. Like, it doesn't matter how long you think you've been in sales, right? Nothing actually comes out of saying that. It's just our battle cry every year. So for me, I think the way to change that, especially from the marketing side, is you got to have better marketing. And we'll get to the sales side too, but for now, since I started on the marketing thing, the way we market to customers feels like everybody is trying to market as if their product is a consumer good, right? Like when you think about
like a TikTok shop or like an
yeah,
Amazon product or something like that.
no, not even that. But from the marketing perspective, they're approaching it as if they're marketing to a consumer at home. It's like they saw a video they liked in their personal life, and they said, "Oh, let's do that at my company." You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I'm trying to think of something. Like Old Navy, how they do the dance and the coordinated flash mob or something.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like a marketer sees that at home and says, "Yes, let's take this B2B product
Right.
and do our version of an Old Navy flash mob or our version of a Target commercial," or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it always feels like that weird, clunky marriage that they're trying to make happen. And it never really gets across the message of what this product from a B2B perspective does. And it usually leaves our customers frustrated because they're like, "Oh, wait, what is this? What do y'all do? Tell me again."
Yeah.
And so I think that's a huge miss on the marketing side.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I can see that 100%. Like you have to tailor it to specifically like the B2B world, right? So it doesn't necessarily apply just because something got a lot of traction or there's a particular trend on TikTok or on Instagram or whatever, on LinkedIn even sometimes. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to translate to your product and your target customer. I can see that argument. I think that also too, though, like, isn't that their job? Isn't that marketing's job to not only, understand the difference between one trend and how it translates to something else, but then also, utilizing the ideal customer profile and understanding how their product fits with everything within that industry.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're just asking them to do their job and get us some more leads from the sales side. Like, I feel like it's really not that complicated. Until we're put in that position to actually do it ourselves.
Yeah, but I think that's my biggest struggle I think that's why we as a culture think that prospecting and sales is easier than it really is, because when you see stuff like that and internally it's messaged as it's working, because marketing just is caring about downloads and clicks and traffic, right? And so if you're pushing that narrative, it's very easy to see how if I say, "Hey, we did this video and it got," like, think about an iPhone commercial. Very rarely does it tell you the specs and this and that and that. But they are still crafty, and we're marketing to people, not the phone, we're marketing a camera. So they're technically still solving a problem and appealing to someone. But then try to do that for B2B where people are, they're not in creative mode. Their guards aren't down for that. They need something that clearly addresses something that procurement has given them a set budget and definitive KPIs over. Not some like, oh, you know what? When I go and take my family out, it would be great to have an awesome photo and not have to pull out a separate Kodak camera, right? They want to know, hey, what are the specs? Will this fit in my warehouse, or will this fit in my scope of work? Whatever the case is. And so with that in mind, though, we create these artistic videos. That's a nice word. We create
That's a
these
good word,
artistic videos.
Abstract.
And then we say, oh, look, but it got 1,000 or 2,000 or 100,000 plays.
Yeah.
So it's very, and then when that gets 100,000 or 2,000, whatever plays, and then you actually only get one customer, that's how you get the mindset of, all right, I need 100, 200 calls from you every week. Because marketing has that data so fast that naturally the sales leadership is now thinking, oh, okay, well, we need to match that on this side. And then that's where the quantity becomes the norm instead of quality.
Gotcha.
So that's where I always say marketing should kind of steer the ship and lead in the navigation of finding the right type of leads, so that now you know who to prospect and talk to. But it gets tricky because, yeah, some random person found our video and they clicked on it because they were bored at work. And now we have 50 million of these from people bored in their cubicle. And then out of that 50 million, technically only 10 people who actually needed our product clicked on it. But now that becomes a number. Yeah, we need 50 million people to click on it to get these 10 leads, to get this revenue. And so that's where I think the issue starts. And that's why I think that part of the wheel is broken.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. You know what I mean? I do think that, like, I guess the BS filter is like the key distinction of warm lead, right? Like, It's not just 50,000 views or 5,000 likes, and you know what I mean? Like the same thing goes for if you're at a trade show and you're scanning 1,000 people and you just took advantage of, you know, groups of 5s and 6s all coming from the same company.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you know what I mean? Like which one of those is actually true quality, and which one of those is actually going to have the ability to follow through in a conversation and have a conversation about a potential project or whatever. And I think that's the eternal struggle though. Like sales always wants better leads. Like you said, these leads are trash, right?
If you're scanning, right? Let's go back to if you're scanning at a trade show, right?
Yeah.
Who owns trade shows?
Technically sales does.
No. Who owns it? Like who sets it up?
Oh yeah, like marketing companies.
Marketing. So then we get into this. Well, this is the goal at this show. We need how many scans? Who creates that?
Marketing. Yeah.
So that's why I put marketing as first in line to blame, only because their numbers start to feed the mindset and define what great looks like for salespeople. Even if we hate to admit it, even if the VP of sales doesn't want to admit it, but they see, oh, awesome, hey, we got 1,000 leads, and you could just be standing there and say, no, I'm only going to scan like qualified people. Well, aren't they all qualified? Absolutely not. But they don't want to, and it would be an uncomfortable conversation, I admit, for you to go to a trade show and be there for a whole week and say, hey, I talked to all these people. I only have 7 leads that I think are worth our time.
Yeah. You just paid me a week's salary plus expenses.
Yeah. And they would, most people, me included, would freak out if you only had 7 leads. Even though when we go home, it's only gonna be 5 to 7 that are real leads.
That's true. That is true.
So that's why I always put marketing first. Sales leadership, yes. Now the sales leadership has to, I think we have to take from a sales side, we have to show more initiative though on like what we actually are willing to put up with as a true qualified lead.
Okay. So you're saying like have some criteria, or is it have that conversation? Is it walk through a post game interview or you know what I mean? Like that type of thing of, hey, it didn't fit. Here's why these don't fit. Here's why these leads are trash. Kind of what is the, because at the end of the day, right? Like And this is the biggest thing for the prospecting side of things. Is like, okay, marketing kind of tees it up for you, but now you have to figure out what's actually in there, and you have to fill in the top of your funnel. Sure.
Yeah.
But you can't like make diamonds out of, out of freaking dirt. There has to be some level of quality material in there for you to actually work with. And I think that's the biggest disconnect that a lot of salespeople deal with, is the fact that, hey, are being fed a whole bunch of these stupid leads or whatever. And we have to dance around the fact that we have to show that we're following up. We have to show that you're acting on something. You have to show that you're making the calls and doing the emails, but you know that it's really not going to go anywhere. So like, where does that leave the salesperson, other than looking like they didn't do their job, right? Like you didn't sell well enough because marketing delivered or whatever. Like I think that's the eternal struggle, is that
See, that's
marketing
where
is always going to say, hey, I gave these to you on a silver platter
true,
and you
true.
fumbled the ball.
That's where I think the collaboration has to be truthful and accountable. Because all right, so, and it probably should have gotten to this point like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right? But let's say this is now what needs to happen and continue to happen. Let's say we go to trade shows, right? Let's say it's a great trade show, 100 leads. All right, cool. Let's say only 7 of them are real leads. Or let's be generous. Let's say 25 of these are real good leads. Then we have to actually sit down with marketing and say, hey, all right, these 25 are good leads. So let's start now marketing needs to go back and understand and do, focus groups and stuff. This is what made these people respond and why did they bite on our solution. These other 75, hey, it could be timing, it could be indecision, it could be confusion, right? And that would be acceptable too. But what we keep seeing is, out of that 75, 50% of those are BS, and they had no business within the center of qualified leads. So
Mm-hmm.
in my head, in theory, ideally in this scenario, out of those 75, 37 of those leads could probably be eliminated. And that leaves you with about 50 something leads though.
Mm-hmm.
50,
See? Yeah.
57, 60 something leads. But that's very hard for marketing and leadership to wrestle with, because in their head financially, the number doesn't make sense in front. It only
Mm-hmm.
makes sense in the back. Like it makes, hey, there's 100,000 people at this trade show. All right, cool. Oh, great. We got 300 leads, or we got 100 leads. But that's great for like year 1 and 2. After that, we should say, hey, every time we go to this trade show, we find about 50 qualified leads. That should be the
Mm.
measuring stick.
I see
Not
that.
not some like the goal is why
Yeah.
is the goal? How did the goal become the goal? What do you mean that's the goal? Is it, well, that's what we got last time? No, no, no. Like, how many qualified leads are we
Yeah.
finding here?
True.
The goal should be, hey, we need 60 qualified leads. Here are the questions that the qualified leads understood and they decided to let us scan their badge. Not like you said, oh, I see a group of people, I'm going to scan all of them. And we just had a general conversation. Hey, maybe we'll send you some info. And if you like it, cool. That's where it should start, and we should be holding each other accountable in the section of qualified leads.
Yeah. See, like, but I don't know, man. Cause like, I always think about like what you said, right? Like you're end of the week or 3 days in and you're like, man, these numbers are looking slim. So now I gotta friggin' figure something out, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
something
tough.
short of literally scanning every person that walks by or stopping every person in the aisle or whatever. Like it just looks like at the end of the day, the salesperson that was there, that was tasked with the responsibility of this particular show or whatever, just didn't do their job. And so I think that's so difficult for a salesperson to deal with and like and be
I
able to
know.
stomach and be able to endure.
Get it. And this is why also, but that's why I say the collaboration has to be so strong, because imagine if your boss wanted to look at your prospecting list, right? And he says, who have you been calling? And our ICP is for procurement, and you've been calling marketing people, or you've been calling like somebody in the warehouse, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, you've only called the warehouse people this whole week.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the warehouse. They're too busy answering the phone. They would be upset if we were calling the wrong people over and over again.
True. Very
That's what
true.
happens. But that's what's happening at trade shows, and nobody's talking about it.
That's a good point. No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Then, but here's the other side. On the sales side, we don't close every deal. So, but we get enough information, and that's what we should feed back to marketing, where they can then continue to prime these customers. So they technically do have an active group and audience that they could build off of. We have to do a better job as sales at saying, hey, we didn't land this because of price, we didn't land this because of timing, we didn't land this because of fit or whatever. And then we have to feed them that information. And then they have to, when it goes back to messaging, provide the right messaging to them too. So if everybody's doing the right messaging and we have true numbers, I think it'll be a lot easier to deal with. But mentally, we're all stuck in the same matrix of large and in charge. Everybody wants quantity, even when we say we want quality. Like we'll say the leads
Yeah.
are trash, and then we'll go scan trash
Yeah.
leads,
True.
right?
Very, very true. Very true. And I guess part of that then is saying like, okay, then like let's lead by example in a way, right? So like if we're not going to be able to accept, or if we're not willing to accept from marketing trash ass leads, then we can't take it upon ourselves to collect trash ass leads, right?
True.
Like, you know what I mean? So maybe that's the best way to put it is like, just because you're prospecting, or just because you're the salesperson and you have to prospect, doesn't mean that you don't have to have essentially put on like a marketing hat and be like, okay, like how would I target this audience, or how would I approach this particular event? I can see that. It's kind of like walking a mile in the other person's shoes in a way.
Yeah.
And then being able to, the hard part of that too, though, is like being able to actually verbalize that and communicate that. Right. So, it's not just these leads are trash. It's like these leads are trash because, you know what I mean? And your ICP, your ideal customer profile, is wrong because, you know what I mean? Like, great, you got all these procurement people on this list. I called every single one of them, and they know nothing about their operation, so I can't sell to them.
Yeah.
Versus like, well, now we need to attack the ICP, and we need to really kind of go into that. We're like, oh, you know what? Actually, operations is the best people to reach out to. So let's build this list of operations people and so forth. So I think that's the idea of like prospecting isn't marketing, but at the same time, you have to almost approach it in the marketing brain, and you have to see it from how marketing would see it, because marketing isn't always on the front lines the same way and doesn't have the same customer interactions that we do. I think that's the handoff. I think the teamwork involved in that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, salespeople, we have to be more accountable too. Like we know the type of accounts that we're winning, and sometimes we fall into the whatever about things, right? Like we get the new list of leads, and then we just kind of call them and we don't report back. So we do have to start reporting back more to marketing, but it's also like we're trying to get through our day. And so I think that as a salesperson, one thing you can do individually that doesn't require much is say, hey, I'm killing it with these type of companies. Can you do something for me with these type of companies? Like
Yes.
furniture in my territory is great. Send me some furniture companies, but then that gets into content too. And I think that's why I hate to keep going back to marketing, but I think that also is where sometimes the rubber meets the road too, where you're like, hey, do we have a video or content on this, a case study on this? And if we don't, though, as a salesperson, you really have to go down the line of communicating why it's important that we need this type of content.
Yeah.
Because then that helps them create more awareness and education. But I think we just kind of, oh, okay, they don't have what I need, or I don't think they have what I need, or I can't find it right now. So now I'm winging it and putting slides together because I technically don't want an additional project. I think we have to take those additional projects and get with marketing so that they can create better content. But as a salesperson, yeah, we do have to take more initiative, like you said, and making sure we get the right leads, man. We do have to do
Yeah,
it. I'll admit that.
I'm in the same boat as you though. Like, it's if you don't have something, you got to ask for it, sure.
Hmm.
But also like you can't, I don't know. I guess in general, what we're saying is like, don't just complain about it, like be about it and do something about it. Right. So, if you're getting trash leads, then you can take it upon yourself to not even bother scanning or not even bother chasing or bother just like throwing out these generic emails and generic, LinkedIn messages or whatever.
Yeah.
If you aren't 100% sure, or maybe even like 80% sure that that's a good point of contact to have. Um, it is difficult though, because like, again, if you're going to put on your marketing hat, now you're trying to not just go after people, but you also have to essentially like, okay, what about myself makes people want to come approach me, right? So like, what about what I'm posting, or what about like kind of how I carry myself, or some materials that I might have and stuff like that is making people want to ask me, right? So maybe that's a knowledge thing. Maybe you don't have as much knowledge as you think you do, and then when you start talking to people, you start losing them because it's all conceptual and you don't have hard facts. Maybe it's a LinkedIn post and LinkedIn information and certain like informational topics that you could be sharing, right? Like you come across something, right? And I think you mentioned at one point you were doing actual real research and writing articles and blogs and stuff like that. And like all of a sudden you're building up, a certain level of attraction. People want to come to you as you're the expert. So you can't just walk around and be like, oh, I'm the sales guy, I'm the expert, and not be about it in a certain way. And that's where, I don't know, man, that's where again, like salespeople all of a sudden have to wear a whole bunch of hats. All right. Like
Yeah,
it still comes back to you. Like I think it's the hardest thing, and I
it
think feel
is.
like that's something that like a lot of salespeople deal with is like at the end of the day, if the leads are trash, you got to figure it out, right? Like you got to go to a trade show and you got to spend 3 days there not doing sales stuff and doing this. You got to figure it out. Like something falls off your something falls out of your pipeline. You lost a deal or whatever. Like you got to figure it out. So it it's a lot of fun being a sales guy. There's a lot of upside to that.
It is. No, you're right. You're right. As a salesperson, you do have to create your own content. I think you absolutely have to. It's the only way to really. I mean, It's essentially what you're doing anyway. You're taking, whether it's an email, whether it's a script that you're making your own. When you talk to somebody, you are technically creating your own content. I think where you have to do it even more is especially for emails and social media. You cannot. It's for me. My rule of thumb is I never use the company's content without altering it, and I never like anything on the company page because it's all it's always the it's and it's at every job. It's always a picture of a trade show. It's always a photo from a trade
Right,
show. It
right.
never it's We're in a weird space where LinkedIn for companies, it's transitioned to almost an internal page. Like you're posting a picture of us having a great time at the trade show, and then I'm liking it, and now we're all commenting about the trade show. Nobody's scoping nobody's scoping prospects on there. Everybody's just liking the post about how great the company or the culture is. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's a
yeah.
weird space. So then
Doesn't actually produce any
it
any
does it doesn't
inbound. Yeah,
it doesn't produce any leads. And so if I like it, I feel like now when someone does, because it'll show the people that follow you or that you're connected to what you liked. It just is more fluff that leads them away from listening to you when you have something to say.
that's an interesting way of looking at it, and that
Yeah,
and that has I've never thought about it that way, but that makes total sense. It makes total sense, right? Like it's almost as if you're watering down what you're putting out there.
yeah,
That's so interesting. So to not water it down, you got to be very particular about what you like and what you comment on, because otherwise it'll essentially overshadow everything else that you're posting and all the other material you're trying to get out there and trying to get actual eyes on.
yeah. Because if it was, and this is me being cocky, so I could be completely wrong, right? But if you're at a trade show, all right. So I don't work there anymore, so I can use this as an example. Let's
Yeah.
say UPS is at a trade show. Instead of posting awesome time at trade show such and such. We're at booth this. You can say, hey, we're at this trade show promoting this product. Our small pack will get you our products get you this result. We save this amount of time. We have the largest network, which means if you have this particular audience at this trade show, we're here marketing to this person. If you're in procurement and you're looking to save 5% on your shipping costs, come to booth this. That's what it should say. Not awesome time with everybody taking a photo and love our team. Like that, bro, it's the most.
No, that's true though. I see it. I see it 100% though. I see it. Like be specific about it.
Yeah, it's the most irritating thing, bro. And then
that's so interesting.
How often do companies do trade shows?
Dude, freaking every week almost.
So now all of your content is a trade show post.
Yeah.
Or a birthday or a team outing.
Yeah.
Or you see what I'm saying? That has nothing to do with the external message we're trying to communicate.
That is interesting. But see, okay, people buy from people, right? So like how do you defend that when like you're just trying to be human, right? Because marketing is a certain machine within the organization on our side, and they're just trying to attack a different machine that's external, right? And they're just trying to like bring them in a little bit, but there's no actual human connection on the marketing side of things. And then we as salespeople have to take that artificial surface level or whatever, we have to try to take that and make it a human connection, because at the end of the day, like you want to have that relationship with that prospect and with that lead.
Yeah.
So how do you get there?
You do exactly what you just said. People buy from people, right? This is where consumer products actually have it good. They will say, all right, so Skims, right? I'm not wearing Skims, but Skims is now in the NBA. So now I look at them differently, right? So they'll say, hey, look at this person using my product. You don't like tuna fish? Look at this athlete buying tuna fish. Campbell soup? Look at this person eating Campbell soup. TikTok shops like, hey, look at this person using my wrench or my salad maker or my air fryer. It's pretty much just showing the people who need to use this product are using this product. Instead of, to the salad maker example, instead of putting the salad maker in the mountains and saying this, we could sustain equitably or sustainable sources. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I do. It's like it ends up being so abstract and so big of a target, right? Like the message is just so much.
Yeah.
That it loses its actual relatableness.
Yeah. We just need to say this person, you don't have to necessarily give the company off, but you can do like Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A has that person and they sit down on the couch. Perfect example. You can say, hey, Josh is in procurement at a top retail company in Bryan. How did you guys come connect? And you say, hey, well, I gave Josh a call because, packaging or technology or SaaS or whatever your product is super important. He was trying to solve this problem. You could very easily create that messaging. Yeah. But the salad in the mountain is where we are. Some kind of way we end up there for some reason.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
That is interesting, man. That is interesting. And I think, again, that's another thing too, that like it ends up falling on the salesperson in a way, because if you are dealing with that and if your marketing team is completely missing the mark, now you got to take the small number of eyes that are on that campaign, and now you got to actually make them look at you and take a deep dive on how you can solve their problem. And so I think what ends up happening is like the salesperson essentially does their thing and marketing would be like, oh, great, that campaign worked, right? So then like the credit, so the salesperson still gets the short end of the stick because, marketing kind of like puffs up their chest and pats themselves on the back as if like they did something really good. Then the salesperson is the one that actually had to like, finagle the situation and actually close the deal. Yeah. I don't know, man. But then again, then you start having to lead by example. Then you start saying, okay, marketing, like this doesn't work. What actually does work is this short clip and this, customer testimonial and being in this facility and recording this process before and after. And look, it's just made on my iPhone and it worked out great. And here's why, I don't know, man. It's we end up like just having to dance and it's a tough world to be a sales guy, dude.
Dude, it is,
especially
man.
If your marketing team isn't on it, right? Like, and here's another thing too that's really interesting, because it's like perspective is everything, right? So a lot of people, we just acquired somebody. The company that we acquired is much, much, much smaller than we are. Like much smaller. Probably less than 10%
For sure. I think so.
of what we are, right? The marketing budget, same amount. Seriously, that's a stat coming directly from our VP of marketing. So with all of that, it's like, the perception of if marketing is doing a killer job, like for them, marketing was doing a really good job.
Really good
Perception
job.
was that it was this like industry leader, like giant company and has a solution for you and blah blah blah. And then where like some of the stuff that we always talk about and needs work and doesn't need work, whatever. A lot of times sales guys have to take it upon themselves to do their own stuff. And the perception of our company is like, wow, it's a really small, or it looks like it's really small, but it's actually not as small as it is. It's actually a really, really large company. And so I think that's the biggest thing with just having to work around expectations and having to really kind of make the actual what's the word? I don't know, man. Like make lemonade out of the lemons that you're given in a way.
No, for sure. For sure. And that's what salespeople are good at, because I would argue most sales people have to be like that, because the reason why those companies that have great marketing shine so bright is because they're one of the very few. And what Bryan is talking about is when we call companies, we have to convince them that other people are using us. Like that's what we spend part of the call on. And the other company that we purchased, everybody already wants them. Their conversations about wanting what they have. And our conversation on the other side before about our company was, yeah, like, are you sure y'all can do that? Or who else is using them? Once you tell people, like, we can name drop all day and people are like, wow, so you are a legit company.
Yes.
We spend so much time convincing people we're legit, where the other company spent time just talking to people about what they wanted from them as a product. That was it. And so it's just night and day. And that's why I'm always head up when it comes to marketing is super important in the prospecting process.
Yeah. And I think granted, we all kind of take it upon ourselves, but more than anything though, like the whole prospecting thing is you're trying to get eyes on you. You're trying to get people to listen to you. You're trying to get people to look at you. You're trying to get people to give you the time of their day, right? And all that will feed into the top of your funnel, and all that will essentially allow you to filter through that and then finally get a few closes down the line. And so with, if you have a good marketing team, great. You're many steps ahead of people that aren't. But sometimes, you just have to take it upon yourself, and you got to do it all on your own, man. You got to put on your marketing hat. You got to put on your, your customer success hat. You got to put on your project manager hat. You got to do everything.
And I'm pointing to you because even though I'm the one like punching marketing, giving them low blows, you mentioned the word marketing way more than me, right? Like, if you're a salesperson at the top of the year, you have to get with your boss and what's your go-to-market strategy? The word market, like market, that's a marketing thing. When you said it, we have to personalize our own content. That's what marketing is doing. They're catering content to the audience or the ideal customer profile of, sales and prospecting feels like marketing. So that's why I say the prospecting would be easier if marketing was doing marketing the right way. That's just what it is, because they're the top layer of marketing, and then I'm coming in as a mini marketer, essentially, as a salesperson.
True.
But if marketing isn't where it needs to be, I have to do so much heavy lifting to get us to a place where the conversation is now about sales.
Right. Yeah. You got to fill the gap. Yeah. Yeah. You become the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
As opposed to having a bridge that's there, and now the customer or the prospect is on your doorstep, already warm, has good feelings about the solution, is already confident that, it's just about the details now. Like, no, you become that bridge, and now you have to go out to where the prospect is and then warm them up so that as they cross the bridge, they're getting warmer and warmer. When they finally make it to your side, now they're finally warm. So that, for us, it's you end up having to fill that gap. Not just
Yeah.
for us, but for it depends on. I came from a different world where it was actually the other perspective, where people thought we were much larger than we were because of our reputation, because of just our longevity and everything else. And so when people kind of approached us, it was already, hey, I've heard about you. I've seen you here. I've seen you there. I know about you guys. You know, I've talked to people. And it was just boom, like you already got them, quote them, close them. And so they already showed up on your doorstep pretty warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the organization, man. It depends on the
does.
organization. If you're lucky, great. If you're not, you gotta cross the bridge and help them walk over with you.
You know what grinds my gears too about sales? You know the company that has the worst sales, the worst marketing to me? Salesforce.
Yeah, it's like weird.
Let me
Like,
let me tell you
It
why.
doesn't even tell you what it is. It's so strange.
We all have Salesforce. For some reason, nobody buys the full integration. Nobody buys access to all the tools. Our conversations about Salesforce, for y'all to know, me and Bryan really like Salesforce, and we had a geeked out conversation about all the things you can do in it. The fact that I've been at multiple companies where they still send you outside of Salesforce to put things on an Excel file, that just lets me know how bad Salesforce marketing is. If you don't want to market to the decision maker, you should at least market to the user and the influencer and say, hey, did you know that you could do this with Salesforce? If your company has Salesforce, why don't you send them this video telling them how you can make your Salesforce better? Why don't you integrate it into your Zoom and your Outlook, and you don't have to, you can send your emails and track the open rate. You can do all of this in your Salesforce. Why don't you send your boss this video? It would be it's the simplest, and in my head, it should be the simplest marketing that any company would do. We all have it and we're not paying for the full service, and nobody wants to talk about that. We're using everybody for Salesforce. If you don't know, everybody is using Excel to track some stuff that they could track in Salesforce, and they're using Salesforce every day, no matter how great. And then you fill in both Fortune 50 companies all the way down the line. Everybody's using Salesforce and Excel. Excel is getting a ton of your business because no one tells the salesperson that they could do this in Salesforce. And the leadership is the one asking for this outside of Salesforce. So
yeah, man.
Salesforce, please make my job easier by stepping up in your marketing.
It's so funny. It's so funny. It's so interesting because it really is that, like, if they did a better job about their marketing, not only would they be bigger, I mean, they are the biggest, obviously, right?
For sure.
But they would be even bigger. And on top of being bigger, like, the adoption and the integration would be significant. So, like, they would be able to charge more. They'd be able to grow even more. So it's just, I don't know, how do some companies just miss the mark?
I don't know, man.
Some of their top performers, though, have you heard some of the numbers, like, completely changing the subject? Have you heard some of the numbers of, like, what their top performers make, bro?
Salesforce? Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is, man. I mean, I think I don't see articles that are favorable of the CEO at times, because it's always like, oh, we got to work more, yada yada. But they do pay for that work. I will say that they do pay for that work, and this is based on my knowledge of people working there and just seeing some stuff online and recruiters calling me. So yeah, they definitely pay well. So
it's interesting. It really is.
So then let's blame the marketers then.
Yeah.
Hey, and not the salespeople. Let's blame the salespeople, since we know y'all making a gang of money over there. Hey, call all these companies,
right,
and tell them to start buying the full portfolio of Salesforce instead of all this extra work I have to do. It's getting on my nerves.
No, that's perfect. That's actually great. That's a great way to end this. It ends up falling on the salesperson anyways. They have to make the call. They have to bridge the gap. Perfect example.
Yeah, because you know what happens? The VP of sales sees a video like this, and then they forward it to the salesperson instead of the marketing person.
That's so funny, man. That's so true. That's a perfect way to close this one out.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, at the end of the day, you got to hit your numbers. At the end of the day, you got to prospect and fill the top of the funnel. And whether you have the tools at hand or not, you can't blame a good carpenter. Never blames his tools. So
there you
how
go.
about that?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, we got to close on that one. Jeez.
There you go, man.
Yeah, good carpenter never blames his tools. Damn. That's a fucking great quote right there. All right.
Yeah, man. And it applies perfectly.
Yeah, it does. I recant everything I said, and I
Yeah.
like that.
That's perfect, man. That's perfect. Good way to end it.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll close this one out. If there's anything else that salespeople out there are doing, make sure to leave it in the comments below. If you want to gripe, if you want to complain, or if you want to even praise your marketing team, then leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one.
See y'all
Peace.
later. Peace.